Funds, we don't know. There's nothing, maybe it's a straightforward thing. And they use other people's names. They don't even use M-Pesa. They use Onyango, they use Wangai. So who is paying who? That's the question. And how did they pay the $10 million each when I see us? Here is somebody claims that their two investors of Kenya have $10 million each in WorldCoin. There's a major, and WorldCoin raised $115 million. So $10 million each is $20 million. 20 million out of 150 is for 20% of WorldCoin is owned by Kenyans. Which Kenyans? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes. That's what we want to know from you, sir. We want to know that. We want to know who did it. Thank you, sir.
Was the other Kalma?
As Chair, time is gone, but allow me to just emphasize the issue Honorable Shakil is speaking about. Waziri, we had the CS in charge of ICT just where you are seated the other day. And both in word and in writing, I think we have the document here. He said these people came to the country in 2020, 2021, and started this business of collecting personal data, even before registration. That they were told to cease business, they continued. And your counterpart in charge of ICT indicated that even despite having been issued with a cessation notice, the data commissioner subsequently went ahead and registered them. The data commissioner was also where you are seated, and she confirmed subsequent to that registration there is a cessation order and an enforcement notice. But these people are still collecting data virtually. And they confirmed it, including their operator in Kenya, I think something called Sense Marketing. Yes. Makes me join Honorable Shakil in asking, who is protecting these people? The DCI serving under your ministry, though under the independent police was also there, confirmed to us the structures for dealing with these people and told us the travel of these characters was restricted. They could not leave the country. And on assurance, this committee was very pleased at. You now tell us there is an undertaking, they have gone. And you see how helpless we looked as a committee. Section 974 of the Companies Act says a foreign company shall not engage in any business in Kenya until they are registered with the Registrar of Companies. And Waziri, you know, subsection 3 of that section makes it an offense for a foreign company to do so and sets out some very good punishment against the company and people running the company. In spite of that, these people, even pending those detailed investigations into whatever money laundering, the possibility they could be facilitating terrorism and those deep ones, cyber security issues, these people were free walking around here and they have been exited from the country without being taken to court. Why are we applying our laws selectively in favor of these people? Something so clear. Why do you believe, and why, what would you tell the committees the reason as to why the law enforcement agencies under you are not acting even when law is clear and law is being, violated in the manner mentioned? Lastly, Chair, there is a court order on preservation of the data these people took. I think that is the order that is there. And the DCI was there, confirmed to us there is a whole structure, both local and international, undergirding the area around security. Would you just confirm to the committee that this being sagas under you, particularly the DCI and those networks, regional, continental, up to Interpol and other agencies, I think we had a report here. Could you just commit to this committee that we could retrieve the data of these Kenyans, which were taken on, in my opinion, the negligent approach to what the law already prescribes? And I'm saying this with utmost respect, Waziri. You're my senior in matters law. But these things of, we need a law to set this, we need a law to set this, we need a law to set this. Look through Section 4 of the Data Protection Act, Section 5 of the Data Protection Act, Section 18 of the Data Protection Act, Section 16, Section 15, Regulation 5, Sub-Regulation 2 of the Data Protection Cybersecurity Regulations. They are all there already. These things you are recommending. And the Data Commissioner is empowered to seek the support of any agency, whether NIS, whether DCI, whether you as a ministry in the discharge of their mandate. There is actually no legal gap. And yet we have these legal gaps. The question is, can you ignite the powers under your ministry through particularly the DCI so that we retrieve back this data? I'm saying this because data is a big business, Waziri, and data can be put into good uses and data can be put into bad uses. This is the area of artificial intelligence. I just imagine there is a world ID, as these WorldCoin people were confirming before us here, and somebody wants to pick me out of this country. It identifies you so well, it cannot even take your look-alike, because it is the iris. I'm walking on a street somewhere, and you are picked by Drown. So they need you for extradition, they just pick you and go on. And therefore I agree with you, this is more of a security business than it is mere commerce. What can you do in terms of your undertaking to this committee? Because it's a serious position this committee is taking, that we must get this bad data back. How do you help us to retrieve this data back? I thank you, Chair.
To you, Bwana Waziri.
Thank you, Chair. I have taken some of the comments or advice on how we need to perhaps implement the law as it is. We are working closely with the International Police Organization, Interpol, to deal with the extra territorial jurisdiction issues that may arise in the process of this work. And I have read the form that was read out by member, I think, Honorable Mayaka. And I agree with sentiments that it's quite disturbing. But on the other hand, I am aware that many people, not just in Kenya, in the world, do not read even some of these things. They do not read those kind of things. And that brings me back to the question of what I had raised earlier on in terms of the nature of consent. Is it informed, deliberate, voluntary consent, or was it consent obtained by inducement and so forth and so on? And as much as I want to agree with the Honorable Kaluma that the current law could still help us. I still believe there are areas that we need to improve, including both the criminal offenses section and the elements of those offenses. In either the act or the regulations, but I agree with him still. We have a lot of areas that we could implement and still achieve some results. What also intrigues me in that consent, the details of that consent form that was signed by our people, was the deliberate exclusion of the jurisdiction of the laws of Kenya on our citizens, which on a matter like this, it should not have happened. That would have been something that should not have been allowed by the authorities, by government, because data, especially data in the manner in which it was harvested here, is citizen data is a sovereignty issue. It's a sovereignty issue. So that exclusion of the applicability of the laws of Kenya, for me, appeared to be offensive in that consent form. I've also been asked to tell the committee why it took us too long, since this entity appeared to have been operating, although indirectly, for 2-3 years. And the answer is simple. As security managers, it is not in our space to lord over private or business interactions of people. And I said that last time I appeared before the plenary of the National Assembly. That is my view. That's what I believe in. Our work is to provide the policy context in which business and private matters operate. And unless something has been raised, either through a complaint or we have reasonable grounds to suspect those interactions are violating our law, that's when we come in. So for a long time, and what actually triggered us was the queues and the complaints. Beyond that, we left it to science and commerce and business operations and transactions. If people are within the law, it's not in our business to obstruct them. And with regard to, I was also asked why, whether we are able to trace financial inflows and outflows in our country. And the answer is in the affirmative. Except the cryptocurrency space, because of the reasons I gave earlier, our institutions of surveillance of financial flows are not at this point able to regulate cryptocurrency trade and transactions. And that is my problem as a security manager. That's where my problem is. And I know this puts me in direct conflict with other legitimate interests of commerce and trade and business and investment. But if, as a security manager whose responsibility at the end of the day will to be asked, why have the people of Kenya been harmed? This crypto thing, I need to know who is doing what, the source of whatever investment which is being put there, where it is going, and the entire chain. You know, we must be able to regulate it. If we cannot regulate it, then it is, in my view, should not be allowed. And I say that with deep respect to the contrary opinions that we have received from those who think that this is a good thing. Then, and was also even asked what the role of the Minister of Interior is in that surveillance. The Cabinet Secretary for Interior chairs the Interministerial Committee on Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorism Financing. And I've already held a meeting as late as 2 weeks ago. And this is a meeting where my colleagues, the CS for the National Treasury, is a member, as well as the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, as well as the Central Bank Governor, the Director General Financial Reporting Center, the Inspector General of Police, the Chief of Defense Forces, and all that. So we have a role. It is our business. But going forward, and that's why Parliament becomes important, help us to clarify the law that we should use on crypto transactions. Leave the enforcement on us, because at the moment our hands are tied. And I really challenge Parliament to give us an act of Parliament in whatever shape, even an elementary act of Parliament that will give us the general space from where to operate. Then the Honorable Kalumba talked about the requirement for foreign companies to be registered before they operate in Kenya. I don't want to preempt investigations, but the question is whether this company was operating in Kenya, or whether a company associated with this company was operating in Kenya. And it's something that will come out perhaps as we go along. With Honorable Shabil asked about many issues around the kind of equipment which were brought into the country. I agree. Again, I agree with him to the extent that these are not scanning equipment, they are scanning and communications equipment, which brings into purview the role of the Communications Authority in authorizing that equipment. So again, investigations will help us, and I hope the reports of this committee will be part of what will help us zero in on who perhaps may have caused this lapse in terms of the type of equipment brought in, the payment of taxes, whether it was done correctly, and to the question of who is protecting these people. Chair, I don't know. The assurance I can give the National Assembly and this committee, through this committee, from where I sit, any person in government, out of government, in public sector, in private sector, who it is established, aided, abetted, supported, encouraged, or even attempted any of those things to facilitate any crime which may have been committed in the circumstances of the WorldCoin, we will hold them accountable. And that is the assurance I want to give as the Security Minister. We will hold them accountable. That is the policy framework upon which the DCI is operating. There is no one who is immune, nobody is excluded, and we have depoliticized our organs and agencies of national security to ensure that if people are found on the wrong side of the law, action is taken. It doesn't matter who that person is. Even if it is myself as the Security Minister, I will take responsibility. I will not be in a position at this point to tell the committee with certainty, 100% certainty, whether we retrieve and compel the retrieval of that data and by what time, But as I said earlier on, I believe it is possible. And I want to give the commitment of the government that we will go out of our way to make sure it is done. And perhaps a little more time, another 1-2 weeks, I should be in a position, even if I do not have to appear here, to provide a written position on where we are on this matter after I clarify 1 or 2 things. I will be more than happy to come back here, Chair, but the assurance is that even if I am not able to come back here before you complete your mandate, I pledge, as the law requires, that we shall implement all the recommendations that this committee and the National Assembly will recommend to the government. On behalf of government, we will implement all the recommendations 100%. Thank you.
Chair, may I just ask, Waziri, by what time do you see the investigations going on, ending?
In 2 weeks'
It
time.
would be of interest that in our report to Parliament.
In 2 weeks from today, or let me put it this way, by 30th of September, we should be able to at least have a preliminary output that can help us take action. But given the complexity of the matter, we'll continue to deal with these matters for a while. But at least I've been assured in 2 weeks from now, we'll be able to give a report that can satisfy, at least in the interim, the committee.
Yeah, thank you. Because, Chair, our mandate is ending by 28th. And Waziri is generous. You know, in 2 weeks does not mean by 2 weeks. It may be even...
Can I ask if I can write as, I can submit in writing some short progress report on investigations on around 25th? Is that too late?
No, it's not. And even actually the DCI, when they were appearing, they took an undertaking of 2 weeks. And our report should be tabled on 28th. So by 28th, so by Friday, by 25th.
25th. I promise to do so.
Or 24th.
Or 24th. Because also you have to do report writing.
Exactly.
All right. Today is 15th, Chair. Is what is 24th is a Sunday. What is the Friday preceding?
Backward is 23rd.
I will supply the committee with where we will be by 23rd close of business.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's actually 2:15. Maybe just one word. You know, your colleagues have really done a good job.
Yes, indeed. Bwana Mwenyekiti, ukiniruhusu naomba mwanzo nimpongeze waziri kwa kazi nzuri anayofanya. Na hapa amekuja kwa kamati, inaonyesha vile yeye ni msafi kama pamba. Kwa sababu hakukataa hawa watu wanahabari kuingia ndani. Kaona waingie, Wakenya wajue kile kinachotendeka. Asante kwa hilo. Na sijasema kwamba wale ambao walikataa wanahabari si wasafi, lakini hapa umeonyesha ule ujasiri na kutaka mambo yawe wazi. Naona ni vizuri vile tahadhari unazozichukua kama waziri wa usalama. Maanake sisi tunaishi maeneo ya Lamu, tunajua yale mambo yanayotokea ambayo tunazuia asitokee. So nimefurahia hivyo, na sisi kama kamati pia tuna hizo tahadhari. Bwana Mwenyekiti, nataka nichukue nafasi hii niwajulishe kwamba jana tulikuwa Lamu na waziri, na kazi ile amefanya katika miaka kutoka tupate uhuru hatujawahi fanyiwa. Kwa hivyo asante sana, endelea kufanya kazi mzuri na Mungu akubariki. Asante. Ile affirmative, wengine walikuwa hawaoni affirmative. Sasa hivi sisi ndio tunaambiwa kuna watu wanatambua affirmative. Asante sana waziri, shukran.
Thank you so much for the compliments. You know, we should be... Gideon, in 1 minute, please. Yeah. Because we should be also in the house. There are two important businesses.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair. Just 1 minute. Wasiri, my question pertains to an agency in Eldoret. There's an agency in Eldoret called First Choice Recruitment Agency. This agency is owned by somebody called Judy Chepchirchir. All arms of government is kind of, they've been unable to touch that lady. There is an investigation by the Senate. The AG came to the Senate, promised the Senate that the Labor Committee in the Senate that action will be taken. Nothing so far. The agency is still continuing to recruit members of the public, lying to them that they will take them to abroad, specifically Qatar, UAE, and Saudi, and some to Poland. Myself, members of my family were part of that, who were called. But when I made noise in August, members of my family were refunded. But in my own constituency of KO South constituency, I have 76 members of the public. Some 100,000, some 200,000, some 40,000. But when we make this noise, there is rumors in Eldoret, because the people who have been duped by this lady are from Elgeyo Marakwet County, Wasingishu County, Nandi County, and some majority from the 3 counties. And then the rest in Nakuru and Trans Nzoia. When we make noise, there's rumors in Eldoret that this is a deep state, that she's untouchable. Some of us who have made some little noise, some people threaten us that there's nowhere you'll go. As the Minister for Internal Security, if myself as a member of parliament, I'm making this noise and nobody can listen, what about that member of public out there in Eldoret? Who is Judy Chepchirchir? When there was the issue of taking people abroad, she was paraded around as the person to take people abroad. That she will lead the government policy on the issue of labor abroad. Wasiri utusaidia. Asante.
You can address to...
Thank you. Chair, I forgot, in 1 second, I forgot to answer the question which was directed at me on whether there is a contradiction between what the director of the criminal investigations said about the departure from the country of the officials of WorldCoin and what I have said here. And I want to confirm to the committee that there is no contradiction. It is true that the police, through the DCI, had defected stop orders against the concerned people, and they had filed those stop orders with immigration, and we had placed a red alert. And it is true what the DCI said when those officials attempted to leave the country. I can't recall which day it was, but sometimes last week, around 10 p.m., they were prevented and they were taken to the custody. But I've already said that there was intervention, diplomatic intervention by the government of the United States of America. And the two governments reached an understanding that instead of detaining these people when we have not arrived at a point where we have established that they have committed crimes, they should be allowed to leave the country And the government of the United States of America has pledged to surrender these people if they are needed. So it is true what the DCI said is true, and I was personally involved. And therefore I want to take responsibility and also assure the country that when those people are needed, we'll bring them back. If they are needed, they will come back. And then I have been asked to, because one was a compliment from the member of Lamu East. Thank you very much. The last one by the member for KO South. If a complaint has been lodged in a police station about the possibility of having been committed around that issue, I would ask for 3 days to respond to that matter in writing to the member or to the committee, because it's been asked through this committee. But if a complaint has not been done, we don't interfere with the working of either other arms of government. This matter is a labor matter, but if it has security implications, just like this matter